2.5 weeks from card number 300 and 16 weeks left in this set. Let's now wrap up week number 27 in Project 2020. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Chris, otherwise known on Twitter and Instagram as @CRT_Sportscards. And the best website you want to visit for everything related to Project 2020 is my website, CRTSportscards.com. And as we move through the back half of the set and get to card number 400, the big thing that we are all looking for right now is transparency in this set. We still, at this moment, do not have confirmation from Topps around how the autograph Mike Trout, Derek Jeter, and Frank Thomas cards are going to work, or if they're even being produced still. We have very little communication from Twins Jake, the #1 pre-seller of Topps Project 2020 cards. He has not posted an update in over a month, and people are still wondering where their cards are at. So as we move through the back half of the set, if you're a pre-seller of Project 2020 cards, over communicate with your buyers. Let them know of any and all delays that are going to be happening, because we know shipping is increasing. At the same time, there are odd pockets of numbers that have not shipped to large pre-sellers. So at this moment, as we get to card 300, you cannot communicate enough. Over communicate with your customers. Make everyone know what is going on. And also, Topps, send us a lifeline. Send us a message. Let us know what is going on with these autographs. The buyers need to know how the Mike Trout, Derek Jeter, and Frank Thomas autographs are going to work, because as of right now, they are not live and no one has a clue where they are. But what we do know are the cards that released this week in week number 27. And if you go back to episode number 86 of the Project 2020 show, I talked about the first 6 cards of the week, and the Willie Mays by Mr. Cartoon was my card of the week at that moment. Although I did forget to even purchase one copy of that card. I cannot believe that I forgot to purchase that card, but that was a theme for me this week, forgetting to purchase cards. But on Thursday, the next 2 cards up in this set, we had Jacob Rochester with his Ted Williams, and we had Andrew Theo with his Tony Gwynn. Andrew Theo continues his trend of doing portraits and the players that look kind of like the player, but also kind of not like the player. If you go back to the Cal Ripken and now the Tony Gwynn, both of these look kind of like the player, but not really. Cool looking card overall, not my favorite. I did really like the Ted Williams by Jacob Rochester. And there were 3 things on the card that really stood out to me on this Ted Williams. Number 1, it was the background. Of course, it was not the bright yellow that you see from the original card. It was sort of a yellowish green, which I really liked. I think it worked well with the card overall. The second one was his explanation of the lettering, the font styles on the card. The font is from the family of Franklin Gothic, and this is all from his Facebook post in the Project 2020 group. It's a font that's been used on baseball cards since the 40s, and it was used on his 1954 card. So cool addition there. And we do know from other posts of Rochester, fonts are a big part of his cards. And if you think back to the Ichiro, that is when I first noticed the font difference on his cards. So I thought it was a great addition on the card itself. And then the number 1 feature for me, I really liked Ted Williams holding the baseball with his autograph from basically his jet in his fighter pilot gear. So I thought it was a really cool addition and a really cool homage to the original card, which had his autograph. So this card at the moment going into Friday was now beating the Willie Mays Mr. Cartoon. But I was so busy this week, I forgot to purchase this card, and I had to go to a pre-seller to pick up 3 copies yesterday morning. So I was very thankful for that. But it was funny, the card I liked the most of the week going into Friday, I forgot to purchase. Ending out the week in week number 27 is going to be Nolan Beck. That doesn't make any sense. Ending the week is going to be Tyson Beck with his Nolan Ryan, and then Don C with his Mark McGwire. As I said on Twitter when the card was released for Mark McGwire and Don C, my first immediate thought was, what kind of career could Mark McGwire have had if he had just eaten his Wheaties and done nothing else? But at the same time, as a fan of baseball, I do not fault the players for what happened in that time period. It is the game that was played. Everyone was blind to it. It was an accepted practice. So it is what it is, basically, as they say. But I thought that was an immediate sort of thought process in mind of, if McGwire had just eaten his Wheaties, what kind of career he could have had. On the Nolan Ryan, Tyson Beck, Another very, very super clean and classic design from Tyson Beck. You know my affection for the number 3, and I love the fact how Mets was on the card 3 times, 1 time upside down. When you see this card, you know it's Tyson Beck, you know it's his design style. And if you're collecting Tyson Beck, this card is going to go very, very well with your collection. He is in my top 5 to 6 artists in the set. I really like his work. I just wish he didn't have the lowest printed card in the set. That is the reason why I'm not collecting his set overall, because I find it very difficult to go back and buy that Dwight Gooden in the current time period. So we will see if I collect him in the coming years. Hopefully those cards do not come down to where they're affordable, but we will find out. But on Friday, the Nolan Ryan was a great card. And again, the Don C. McGuire, very typical of a Don C. card. It really makes you think, and they're not so simplistic when you first see it. And in the middle of all of these releases this week, I received probably the biggest surprise mail day I could ever expect in the project. And Fdot sent me a care package, and I just have to publicly, in a video format here, thank Fdot for what he sent me. And the funny part here is when you think of how I collect and what I collect and what I keep sort of sacred in a sense, if he had just sent me this cardboard, I would have loved it. I would have been happy just with that, because it has his autograph and a message to me around his appreciation for what I have done. But ultimately, this is appreciation for every artist. Look, there's no Project 2020 show. There's none of this without the 20 artists putting out all of their work. So to get that handwritten note from Fdot was just fantastic. But then he included in 2 signed cards from his collection, and very, very nice to see a Ted Williams and a Jackie Robinson, the 2 players I am collecting in this set, and then the print of his companion series, which I thought was just fantastic. So thank you, Fdot, for everything you sent me. I greatly appreciate it. It's going to go on display. I do not have a frame yet for that print. Once I do, it'll go on the wall back there, and you'll see it on the video going forward. So I'm patiently trying to get that done as fast as I can. But thank you again for the care package. I greatly appreciate it. Now, one thing we have not talked about really in depth in a while is the market overall. And I'm going to take the market discussion here in a little bit different of a format. I do want to reference and have you go to the website for all of the pricing. I'm not going to go into the pricing in depth, but I'm going to take an angle of the pricing and show you where there's potential value, where no one is looking at the moment, and where people are getting crushed on the front end, but you can win on the back end. I will say though, pricing right now overall is rather low. Prices continue to drop. The Ichiro Bin Baller continues to drop. We are not seeing that card anywhere near 2,000 now. It is comfortably under 1,500. And when I talked a couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, maybe an offer at 1,500 was the right number, maybe 1,450. But right now, that card can be had for under 1,400 bucks. So it's a very difficult time for the set. And I think the challenge is when that card comes down, it depresses the value of every other card. That card needs to continue to grow, or at least maintain its value so other cards can grow underneath it. But if that card continues to fall, others will fall. Not at the same rate, because that card is so far out in front of the set, but that card will give other cards challenges in the set. For example, like Jackie Robinson Natural, that card can be comfortably had under 350 right now. There are no, right now at the moment of this video, no auctions for that card. They're all buy it now, so we will see if somebody decides to list one at auction to see where it goes. But the last couple of sales have been under 350. So before you make a first or second or even forgotten 7 price or purchase, check the pricing, check the trends on the website so you are making the best offer overall. The other flip side here is the first player cards have not been that active from a volume perspective this week. They've been very, very low. So when you think about the Jackie Robinson Natural and other cards, maybe this is the moment we see it shift and we see prices go back up a little bit because the market is drying up. It is nearly the end of September. We are now in the last 3 months of this set as a live set. I have said that the set doesn't really begin until after 400, but in the moment, we are going to see what happens. I can't see prices get much lower, especially on the harder to find cards, but we will find out. We'll see what happens. But here is where I want you to pay attention to in the market, and it is with the graded cards from Beckett and PSA, but specifically here from Beckett. And to set the stage here a little bit, I put out a video way back in June, episode number 27. I'll have it linked right here, around my initial thoughts on sending these cards in for grading. And of course, the market then was very different, but the premise, my thought process still is the same as that video. So if you've not seen that video, please check it out. And also, if you're following me on Twitter and Instagram, you know that I've been on a recent sort of, not a buying spree, but I've been picking up graded cards that I find as a deal at the moment, or that I think they are very undervalued. And what I have done here is I've taken a look back at every graded card from a BGS perspective, and specifically at BGS 9.5. I will say there are various degrees of a BGS or Becca grading of a 9.5 gem mint. The key here is a BGS 9.5 gem mint is going to have a gold label, and from a visual perspective, that looks a lot better than a 9. The challenge here with Beckett, because they do subgrades, and by the way, if you're going to send these in for grading, please do not do the cheaper non-subgrade route. Those prices are actually even lower than this. People are paying a premium for the subgrades. But if you have a BGS 9.5 and all of the subgrades are 9.5, that is a true gem mint card, and that's actually going to get a little bit higher of a value than a BGS 9.5 with a subgrade of a 9 on one of the 4 categories. You cannot have a BGS 8.5 subgrade and get a 9.5, but there is cards out there, and some of the ones that I purchased do have a 9 subgrade. But if you're looking for a true gem mint card, go after ones with 4 9.5s versus 3. But that is all personal preference on what you prefer. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other if there is a 9 on a 9.5 or if there are multiple 10s on the 9.5. The market will set the pricing overall. That's just sort of the entry level to explanation of BGS 9.5, because there are various degrees of 9.5s in the set. What I care about here is the long-term value of the set overall. And I've always said, if more casual buyers come into this set who are fans of graded cards, who have a massive collection of graded cards, the graded cards could take off exponentially in this set. The challenge is there is a risk. The risk is simple. You have to take them out of the case to figure out if they are gradable or not, and that is a value trap right there. You could open up a Mike Trout Ermsey and it'd be scratching the surface, and you just lost a couple of $100s. So my number one thing is, I do not want to be the person who takes the risk of opening up a card. My ultimate move here is to purchase him on the back end for this one simple reason. The prices people are getting for these cards at the moment are not justifying the risk of opening up the card, and that presents the buyer, us, a great opportunity to obtain a card that has a industry standard grading system for a very small amount over the actual base card of the set. Now, I will say there are a couple of cards here, and these are very, very high printed cards that are going for 3 to 4x the base card price. But that is strictly on the Matt Taylor, Derek Jeter, and the King Saladin. I have my list here real quick of all the prices, but like the King Saladin, Derek Jeter, that is selling the average base value of $25. The graded card went for $75, so that's a 3x gain on that card. And then on the Matt Taylor, that's roughly a $10 to $11 card. That went for $60. So that is a massive 5x gain or 6x gain on that card. But we are not seeing that same increase on the other cards. A good example here is a Frank Thomas Ben Baller. The average sale price of that card is about $175 right now. The graded 9.5 went for $155. So because no one is looking at these cards, there's a potential for a fantastic deal on these cards. And just running down the list here, a couple of other cards that are actually selling for more than the base card, but very, very little. Like a Sophia Chang Jackie Robinson. That card sold graded 9.5 at $83. The base card's about $65 when that card ended. So $17 or $18, if that, it's $17 right there. That's not worth the price of grading. That person actually took a loss on that card to get it graded from the perspective of how much it costs to get that card in a 9.5. JK5 Ted Williams, that card graded sold for $288. That card can be had raw around $220. So that's $60. That's about 30% gain. But here again, that's not that much of a value increase to justify the risk of grading. Tyson Beck, Ken Griffey Jr., a base card of $40. That went ungraded at $76. Now there are a couple of extremes here, like Old Man Allen Mariano. That card went graded for $315. The base price is right around $190. So that's a 60% gain on that card. That is what you'd expect to see in these cards right now, 60, 70, 80%. I don't know if we're in the doubling category yet on these cards, but there are a ton of deals out there right now when you just look at the base value versus the graded 9.5 value. And for example, like Joshua Vides Dwight Gooden, that card sold graded at 206, base card of 210. So it goes without saying, if you're looking for value right now in the set, and you think of this set in the mainstream of the hobby, the graded cards present you a great value opportunity. Now, who knows if graded cards at the end of the day are going to be the most sought after cards, but if I can buy a raw card for $200, or I can buy a graded card at $240 or $245, I'm picking that graded card all day long versus the raw card because I know what I'm getting. And as more people come into the set, they're going to want to know what they're getting, and a BGS 9.5 offers your buyer that guarantee they know what they're getting. Now, right now, as of this morning, what is available on eBay for BGS 9.5? There's only 3 cards up right now, and I would not buy those. They are all listed by Probstein, and we know if you've been around the hobby for a long time, you know his auctions go for quite a bit of money because there is potential for shield bidding on the original purchaser of the card or the owner of the card because of how the system works. I'm not accusing him of shield bidding. I'm just saying what is out there with the hobby. So I don't think those 3 cards offer you any kind of value at the moment. Watch those auctions this week and when they end. But as more get listed this week, take a look at them because people are not searching them, and your cards are either going for lower than the base card, right at the base card, or just barely above. There is very few cards out there that are going for 2-3x the base card, and if they are, it's just the small value cards. So graded cards right now, if you're looking to make a purchase, if you're looking for some potential long-term value, there is value in these cards. And while you're here looking on eBay for those graded cards, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with Project 2020 as I deliver you a video every Thursday and Sunday morning. And this is the best channel for you on YouTube for everything related to Project 2020.